calendar, just block some time that's dedicated for sourcing or coffee chats. Now, going on to the interview and closing stages, will be a little bit shorter on these ones because a lot of this will be more custom to your company. Next up, let's talk about interviewing the right candidates and what interview schedule works for you. There's 2 example interview schedules here, one for AEs and one for SWEs. Let's start with the sales side. In the first round, you'll want to focus on selling. That can be a 30-minute chat. It can even be shorter, just sharing what the company does, why you're passionate about the company, and what the vision for the company is. Parts of that might be similar to even an investor intro chat. You're trying to get them excited about the company and make them remember what it is you do. You also want to try to understand what their potential selling points could be. And so why is the candidate interested to speaking with you? What other companies are they speaking to? Are they squarely in that startup category of I want to join an early stage startup? Or are they still uncertain whether they fall into maybe I want to go to big tech or a growth stage company? You want to gather as much information as you can because you'll use that to sell later on in the process. Second round is where you're going to be doing most of your assessment. Different companies have different ways of doing this. I've had some debates on whether it makes sense, for example, for an AE role to have the AE demo your product or demo the product that they are familiar with. And that might be the company they're currently working at or a company they previously worked for. You can experiment with both and see what works. If your company is PLG or the product is pretty easy to understand, it could make sense for them to demo your product as well. During that call, you'll be taking on the role of the customer. And so you're effectively kind of role-playing the customer while the candidate is being your seller and already getting embedded in that role. One of the advantages of that too is that they get to know what your company actually does in the product. If they like the product, that'll be an advantage for you later on as you go towards closing. Next step is the final round, typically on-site if you're in person. You'll want to have as many touch points as you can with other people on the team. So if there's already other go-to-market hires, schedule some coffee chats with them. They're mainly for the AEs to get to know each other, and you'll still be doing most of the evaluation in the final round. At Juicebox, in the final round, we do another mock demo or pitch, and we'll go through that, in this case, with both co-founders present. Each company has kind of their own style of doing that, and what works best is up to you. On the software engineering side, the first call is going to be very similar, really focused on selling. Why is your company great? Why should they be interested in joining? And then also getting to know, why is that candidate interested in taking the call in the first place? And what could you be using later on to sell them? From there, we'll also want to go into a case study. For example, in this case, building a web app on a 1-hour call. You'll want to make sure that your interview is not one that's easily subject to cheating on an interview. And so that might also change the way you run that second round interview. And then with the final round, you'll also bring them on site. In our case, we try to make it almost like a full day, roughly 6 hours. That includes a system design portion, a more of a sandbox project, and then also a more traditional interview with the co-founders. We try to include something more casual, say a lunch or coffee chats with the team, so that they feel like they're actually a part of the team as well, rather than just interviewing all day. So really to emphasize the selling piece, that's the number one thing we see founders do wrong, is in the first call, they're just interviewing the candidate rather than selling the company. You should flip that order. The first thing you do is sell the company, and then the second thing you do is interview the candidate. So for selling the company, some example lines you could use on the kind of compensation upside, you might focus on you having done founder-led sales previously. And so if you as a founder have closed over $400,000 in revenue, and perhaps you don't even have a sales background, an AE might see that as an opportunity for them to go in and do even better, bring their sales expertise and push the company forward. On the team side, and perhaps more on the engineering hiring side, you would emphasize the backgrounds of you or your co-founders, why you're building what you're building, or even the investors that you're working with. Now let's talk about the offer stage and closing your offer. Your main advantage is speed throughout the whole process. You can run this process within 7 days, 10 days, maybe max 2 weeks. Big tech or even growth stage companies are going to move much slower than that. They have to coordinate across many people. They probably have more interview stages to their process, and you should use that to your advantage. That means knowing exactly when the next step is for the candidate, communicating that clearly to the candidate, ideally even getting it scheduled as soon as you have that confidence in whether they're a good fit or not. During the offer, you'll want to emphasize why they should be joining your company, specific to the selling points that the candidate cares about. And so oftentimes we see those offers be pretty generic or pretty much the same across different companies. At this point, you should have a pretty good understanding of who the candidate is, why they want to work at your company, and you should be able to emphasize that in your conversations with them. Ideally, you can also